The Galactic Coalition had always prided itself on maintaining peace across the stars. Their members comprised of various species had long since banned warfare, opting instead for diplomacy and economic sanctions to resolve disputes. The policy worked perfectly, except in one instance, the humans. The Interstellar High Command Saturday in their vast chamber, the ceiling twinkling with holographic constellations, each representing a peaceful, compliant member of the coalition. Today, however, the galaxy wasn't at peace. Admiral Zaltar, a hulking creature with 6 arms and scales that shimmered in the light, clicked his mandibles nervously as he stared at the holo screen in front of him. "How did it come to this?" he asked aloud, though no one had an answer. "Humans," muttered General Frex, his multiple eyes narrowing. "We underestimated them." "They seemed so harmless," Ambassador Kren added, a serpentine being whose voice hissed with incredulity. Their culture was centered around art, music, and curiosity. But we forgot about their past. We forgot that they once thrived on war. On the screen, the tactical display showed the Sol system, Earth's home. Fleets of coalition ships surrounded it, blockading the planet. But the situation wasn't as secure as it appeared. Earth had not surrendered. Instead, it had prepared for war. Admiral Zaltar clenched his jaw as he remembered the discussions held years ago. The humans had been integrated into the coalition without much hesitation. They had seemed eager to join, speaking of peace, unity, and the shared advancement of species. But something had always seemed off. "They warned us," said General Frex. "Human diplomats mentioned that their species had a saying, if you want peace, prepare for war. We didn't take it seriously." The humans, bound by the coalition's no-war agreement, had dutifully complied until now. The tipping point had been the invasion of one of their colony worlds by the Thraxians, a pirate faction that operated outside coalition law. While the coalition debated how to respond, the humans acted. Earth's leaders demanded the pirates be brought to justice immediately. The coalition, bound by their slow and bureaucratic nature, delayed. A few months passed, and reports came in of human ships retaliating against the pirates. But what shocked the coalition wasn't that they fought back, it was how quickly they annihilated their enemies. The Thraxian fleet had outnumbered the humans 10-1, yet in the span of a single day, it was obliterated. The human ships had emerged, scarred but victorious, using unconventional tactics the coalition had never seen. The galaxy had forgotten the taste of war, but for humanity, it was a muscle they had never stopped flexing. And now the coalition feared what was to come. "They're calling it the War of Reclamation," Ambassador Kren continued, his scales rippling with unease. "Every human ship is being outfitted with advanced weaponry. Every soldier, what do they call them? A Marines, is being deployed." "Marines," General Frex growled. "Humans think differently. They don't see combat as something to avoid but as something to perfect. Those Marines, they're trained killers, and they excel at it." The coalition had authorized a preemptive strike, hoping to dismantle Earth's military before they could fully mobilize. But the humans had anticipated it. They had been preparing for months, if not years. The holo screen flickered, and an image of Earth's fleet appeared. Hundreds of ships, bristling with weapons, advancing in tight formation toward the coalition blockade. The human vessels were smaller, but they moved with precision and ferocity, like predators that had been waiting for this exact moment. "They've deployed the Warhawks," said Admiral Zaltar in disbelief, referencing the humans' newly developed fighters. They were unlike anything the coalition had ever seen, sleek, nimble, and deadly, capable of tearing through enemy formations with brutal efficiency. As the battle unfolded in the void of space, the coalition's forces found themselves outmatched, not in numbers, but in resolve. The humans fought like they had everything to lose and nothing to fear. On board the flagship Endeavour, Captain Sarah Vallon watched her tactical display with steely determination. Around her, her crew moved like a well-oiled machine. They had been preparing for this day, training tirelessly in secret, knowing that the coalition's peace wouldn't last forever. "Shields up, prepare to engage," she ordered calmly. "Ma'am, the coalition forces outnumber us 5-1, her lieutenant reported, his voice betraying a hint of worry. Captain Vallon gave a small, almost predatory smile. "Good, they'll never see it coming." In space, the human fleet surged forward, They didn't fight like the coalition. There was no retreat, no hesitation, only relentless aggression. Their ships danced through enemy fire, weaving in and out of formations, exploiting every weakness with ruthless efficiency. Earth had unlocked a terrifying potential, a primal understanding of war that the rest of the galaxy had long since forgotten. The coalition forces faltered. Their admirals, unaccustomed to the chaos of real combat, scrambled to adapt. But it was too late. Human ships punched through their lines, decimating entire battalions with a ferocity that left the battlefield littered with wreckage. As the tide turned in humanity's favor, Captain Valen received a transmission from Earth's command. It was simple, yet it carried the weight of centuries of human history. Never give humans a reason to go to war. By the time the battle was over, the coalition's forces were in disarray, retreating back to the far reaches of the galaxy. Earth had won. The Galactic Coalition now understood the truth. They had made a grave mistake. In their desire to avoid conflict, they had given humans the one thing they needed most to unleash their full potential an enemy. The aftermath of the battle left the Galactic Coalition in shambles. Debris from shattered ships floated in the void, a haunting reminder of the price they had paid for underestimating humanity. Reports flooded the Coalition's high command, each more grim than the last. Coalition fleets, crippled beyond repair, had no choice but to retreat to their core systems. Earth stood victorious, and the galaxy had changed forever. On the bridge of that endeavor, Captain Sarah Valen surveyed the battlefield. Her expression remained calm, but the fire in her eyes told a different story. She wasn't just a captain, she was a symbol of humanity's refusal to be underestimated any longer. "Damage report," she ordered, her voice steady. "We've sustained moderate hull damage, but nothing critical," her tactical officers replied. "Our fleet remains at 75% operational capacity. Coalition forces are in full retreat." Sarah leaned back in her chair, feeling a strange mixture of relief and dread. This was only the beginning. Earth had made its stand, but now the galaxy would come for them with everything it had. Humanity had defied the Coalition's peace, and there would be consequences. "Send a message to command," she said. "Tell them, we're ready for whatever comes next." In the heart of the Coalition's capital world, a crisis meeting was underway. The towering council hall, usually a symbol of stability and unity, now echoed with the sounds of panicked voices. Representatives from every member species were present, their faces etched with fear and anger. "We must retaliate," demanded Grand Vizier Kronak, his voice booming across the chamber. "The humans have defied the Coalition's laws. This cannot stand." "But how?" Ambassador Kron retorted. "Our fleets are in disarray. The humans have outmaneuvered us at every turn. They fight like no species we've ever encountered." "There must be a diplomatic solution," interjected Senator Valles, her glowing blue skin flickering with anxiety. "We cannot afford an all-out war." "Diplomacy," Kronak spat. "Did you see what they did? They crushed our finest fleets. They will never negotiate from a position of weakness now." The debate raged on, but one truth became increasingly clear. Humanity was no longer a species that could be ignored or underestimated. They had proven themselves on the battlefield, and now the rest of the galaxy had to deal with the consequences. In a dark corner of the chamber, Admiral Zalter watched the chaos unfold. He had always been a pragmatic leader, and though he had pushed for the initial preemptive strike, even he had underestimated the humans. His mind raced, trying to comprehend how they had managed such a swift victory. Was it sheer tenacity, or was there something more to their tactics? "I warned them," Zalter muttered under his breath. "I told them we couldn't corner the humans, but no one listened." He knew what needed to be done. As much as the rest of the Coalition wanted vengeance, they would have to be smarter than that. The humans were not a foe that could be defeated by brute force alone. The Coalition would need time to regroup, time to understand their enemy. Meanwhile, on Earth, the mood was one of grim resolve. The war hadn't been officially declared, but the humans knew what was coming. Factories across the planet shifted into overdrive, producing new ships, weapons, and technology at a pace no one had thought possible. Humanity had learned it from their history, and they were ready to do whatever was necessary to survive. In a hidden military facility deep underground, Earth's top strategists and scientists were hard at work, Holo screens covered the walls, displaying intelligence reports, fleet formations, and advanced weapon schematics. General Marcus Davian, head of Earth's Defense Command, paced in front of the assembled team. "The Coalition won't let this slide," he said, his voice filled with determination. "We struck first, and now they'll come at us with everything they've got. We need to be ready." One of the scientists, Dr. Amelia Lanford, adjusted her glasses and spoke up. "We've been analyzing the Coalition's tactics, their ships, their technology. They've grown complacent over centuries of peace. Their systems are outdated, and their tactics predictable. We can exploit that." Davian nodded. "Good, but we can't afford to get cocky. They still outnumber us, and they control vast resources. We need to outthink them at every step." As they discussed strategies, a new plan began to take shape that would allow humanity to stay one step ahead of the Coalition. They would strike fast, using their technological innovations and tactical unpredictability to keep the enemy on the back foot. On the edges of Coalition space, hidden in a vast asteroid field, a secret meeting was taking place. Representatives from various factions, some sympathetic to Earth's cause, others merely seeking to exploit the chaos gathered in the shadows. "The Coalition is weak," said one, a grizzled veteran from a fringe system. "Humanity has shown that they can be beaten, but what's their next move?" "They'll strike again," another replied, her feline eyes gleaming in the dim light. "The humans are survivors. They've tasted victory, and they won't stop." "Then perhaps," a third voice whispered, "we should consider a new alliance." The group fell silent. The idea of siding with the humans was dangerous, but the Coalition's grip on the galaxy had been weakening for years. With Earth's defiance, cracks were beginning to show. Back on Earth, Captain Valen Saturday in her quarters aboard the Endeavour. She stared out at the stars, knowing that somewhere out there, the Coalition was regrouping. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. "Captain, you have an incoming message from command." She stood and tapped the console, bringing up the holo display. General Davian's stern face appeared before her. "Captain Valen, excellent work on the front lines," he said, "but we need you for a new mission, one that will determine the future of this war." Valen raised an eyebrow. "What's the assignment, sir?" Davian's eyes narrowed. "We're going to take the fight to them. It's time the Coalition learned that they should never give humans a chance to go to war." The decision had been made. Humanity, no longer content to sit behind their borders, was about to go on the offensive. The Coalition's retreat had given Earth a rare window of opportunity, one they could not afford to squander. Captain Valen studied the battle plans General Davian had sent. Her mission was clear: lead a strike force deep into Coalition space to cripple their key supply lines. It was a bold move, one that would put humanity on the galactic stage in a way that no one could ignore, but it was also incredibly risky. The Endeavour's crew was ready. They had proven their mettle in the first battle against the Coalition, and now they stood on the precipice of something even bigger. The mission wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about showing the galaxy that humanity would not be pushed aside. The Coalition, still reeling from the recent defeat, scrambled to recover. On the capital world of Aerith, a hastily assembled war council was in session, with the galaxy's most powerful species in attendance. Ambassador Kryn slithered into the room, her long tail trailing behind her as she took her place at the table. General Frex and Admiral Zalter were already there, deep in conversation. Around them, other dignitaries and military leaders from the Coalition Saturday, their expressions grim. This is a disaster," muttered General Frex, his multiple eyes scanning the room. "Our fleets are scattered, our defenses in disarray. The human shave outplayed us." Admiral Zalter's mandibles clicked in frustration. "They're not just outplaying us, they're thinking ahead. They don't fight like we do, and that's what makes them dangerous." "What are you suggesting?" asked Ambassador Kryn, her tone sharp. Zalter leaned forward. "I'm suggesting we stop treating this like a traditional war. The humans have lived in peace for centuries, but their history is soaked in blood. They've had wars unlike anything we've ever known. We've forgotten what real combat looks like." The hand. Silence followed his words, and Kryn's scales rippled with tension. It was true. The Coalition's centuries of peace had dulled their instincts. They had become reliant on diplomacy, on their overwhelming numbers and technological superiority, but none of that had prepared them for the ruthlessness of humanity. We need new strategies, Zalter continued. We need to disrupt their momentum, hit them where they least expect it. The humans have been preparing for this moment for years, and we can't afford to let them seize the initiative. As the coalition scrambled to reorganize, the Endeavour and its fleet were already on the move. Their destination, the Yarden Nebula, a dense cloud of gas and dust on the edge of coalition space. Hidden within it was a vital refueling station, only of the key arteries that kept the coalition's massive fleet supplied. If the humans could take it out, the coalition's ability to launch counterattacks would be severely crippled, but the nebula was treacherous, filled with iron storms and unstable gravitational anomalies. It was the perfect place for an ambush. Approaching the nebula, Captain, Lieutenant Marcus reported, his hands flying over the control panels. Good, Valen replied. Keep our shields up. We'll be flying blind in there, and I don't want any surprises. As the fleet entered the swirling gas clouds, the stars disappeared from view, replaced by a murky, glowing haze. Static crackled across the ship's sensors, and the crew tensed, knowing that danger could lurk in any corner of the nebula. For several tense minutes, they moved deeper into the cloud, scanning for any sign of the coalition's presence. And then, suddenly, the sensors lit up. Enemy ships detected, shouted Marcus. Multiple signatures. Looks like a coalition defense fleet. Valen's jaw tightened, so they were expecting us. Smart. On the main display, the outlines of enemy ships flickered into view. They were larger and more heavily armored than the human vessels, but Valen knew that raw power wasn't the deciding factor here. The coalition had numbers, but humanity had the element of surprise and the will to fight. Engage evasive maneuvers, she ordered. Deploy the Warhawks and prepare for battle. The Endeavour and its fleet launched into action. The sleek Warhawk fighters shot forward, weaving through the chaotic iron storms with unmatched precision. Coalition ships opened fire, their energy weapons lighting up the nebula like fireworks, but the human pilots were too fast, too unpredictable. Valen watched the battle unfold, her mind racing through calculations. The nebula was their ally as much as it was a danger. The humans used it to their advantage, striking fast and disappearing into the clouds before the coalition ships could retaliate. Captain, we've got a lock on the refueling station, Marcus reported. It's heavily shielded, but if we can get close enough, we can take it out. Valen nodded. Focus all firepower on that station. If we destroy it, the rest of their fleet won't be able to hold out. The Endeavour surged forward, its weapons blazing. Coalition ships tried to intercept, but the humans were too quick, too determined. Explosions rocked the station as Warhawk strafed its outer defenses, and the human fleet pressed the attack. Then, with a blinding flash, the station's shields collapsed. Target the core, Valen ordered, her voice sharp with focus. Let's finish this. The Endeavour's main cannons fired, sending a devastating volley straight into the heart of the station. For a brief moment, the station flickered, its lights dimming, and then, with a tremendous explosion, it detonated, sending shockwaves through the nebula. Cheers erupted across the bridge, but Valen remained calm, her eyes scanning the tactical display. Don't get comfortable yet, she warned. We're still in enemy territory. The remaining coalition ships, now cut off from their supply lines, began to retreat. The human fleet regrouped, their mission a resounding success. Back on Earth, news of the victory spread like wildfire. Humanity's bold strike had not only crippled the coalition's logistics, but also sent a clear message: Earth would not back down. In the halls of the Defense Command, General Davian watched the holovids of the victory with quiet satisfaction, but he knew the war was far from over. This was just the first step in a much larger conflict. The coalition's core worlds, nestled deep within the heart of their territory, had stood for millennia as symbols of unshakable power and dominance, protected by layers of advanced defenses and fleets that could dwarf entire star systems. They were considered untouchable. No force in the galaxy had ever dared to approach them in a direct assault until now. In the heart of Earth's military command, the final preparations were underway. The atmosphere was tense but filled with a grim determination. Humanity had fought their way to this moment, and now they stood at the precipice of a war that would either secure their future or doom them to extinction. General Davian, his posture rigid with focus, stood at the command center, overlooking the projected galactic map, his eyes fixated on the target, Siren Prime, the seat of the Coalition's leadership, and the most fortified world in the galaxy. Around him, holographic images of battle plans, ship formations, and tactical reports flickered in the air. "Everything is in place," Colonel Reyes reported, his voice steady. "The fleet is ready to deploy." Davian nodded, but his gaze remained fixed on the map. "This is the heart of their empire, Colonel. They'll defend it with everything they have. We have to be smarter, faster, and deadlier." Reyes glanced at the tactical displays, showing the sheer scale of the Coalition's defenses. "And if we fail, sir?" Davian's expression hardened. "Then we'll go down fighting, but I don't plan on failing." The strategy was daring, even by human standards. They weren't going to launch a traditional full-scale assault on Siren Prime. That would be suicide. Instead, the plan involved a series of coordinated strikes designed to destabilize the Coalition's command infrastructure. They would hit key installations simultaneously, confusing the Coalition's defenses and allowing a small, elite strike force to breach the planet's surface and disrupt their central command. At the heart of this operation would be Captain Valen and the Endeavour. Aboard the Endeavour, the crew was preparing for the most dangerous mission they had ever faced. The ship was part of a larger fleet, but it would be leading the vanguard into the core of Coalition space. On the bridge, Captain Valen stood before her crew, her calm demeanor masking the tension in the air. "This is it," Valen said, her voice cutting through the silence. "The Coalition thinks they're invincible. They think their core worlds are untouchable. Today, we're going to prove them wrong." Her eyes swept across the room, meeting each crew member's gaze. They had been through hell together, and now they were about to embark on a mission that could change the fate of humanity. They knew the risks, but none of them flinched. "Our mission is simple," Valen continued. "We breach their defenses, disable their command centers, and leave before they know what hit them. We're not here to destroy everything, we're here to send a message." The crew nodded in unison. They had become a well-oiled machine, each one knowing their role in the larger strategy. The Endeavour had become more than just a ship, it was a symbol of humanity's defiance, a spearhead aimed at the heart of the Coalition. "Prepare for jump," Valen ordered. "We're going in fast and quiet. Let's show them what humans can do." The fleet transitioned into Coalition space with precision, their warp signatures masked by advanced cloaking technology. The Coalition, despite being on high alert, had no idea they were coming. They had assumed the humans would retreat and regroup after their previous victories, not press further into the heart of the Empire. But humanity had never played by the rules. As the Endeavour and its escort ships emerged from warp, Siren Prime came into view. It was a massive, sprawling world, with orbiting defense stations and patrol fleets that could destroy entire armies. But none of that mattered now. Humans were already inside their defenses. "Begin the assault," Valen commanded. In an instant, the human ships fanned out, targeting the key defense platforms surrounding Siren Prime. Precision strikes took down communications relays, sensor arrays, and shield generators, throwing the Coalition's defensive grid into chaos. Explosions lit up the cold void of space as Coalition ships scrambled to respond, but they were already too late. On the surface of Siren Prime, panic began to spread through the Coalition's leadership. The sudden loss of their defense network sent shockwaves through their ranks. High Chancellor Zirith, leader of the Coalition, stormed into the war room, flanked by his advisors. "What is happening?" Zirith demanded, his eyes wide with disbelief. "The humans, Chancellor," one of his generals stammered. "They've breached our defenses." "They've what?" Zirith's voice trembled with rage. "How did they get past our fleets?" "They struck before we could respond. Our defense platforms are failing, and their ships are already in orbit." Zirith slammed his fist on the table. "I want those ships destroyed. Activate the planetary shields." "We cannot." "Sir," another advisor interrupted, her voice shaky. "The planetary shields are offline. The humans have disabled the generators." Zirith stared at the display, his mind racing. This couldn't be happening. The Coalition had ruled the galaxy for centuries, their core worlds untouched by any outside force. And now, In a matter of hours, the humans had brought them to their knees. Meanwhile, the Endeavour was already moving toward the final phase of the operation, with the Coalition's defenses in disarray. Fallon and her strike team prepared for a daring insertion onto the planet's surface, their target the Coalition's Central Command Complex. As they descended through the atmosphere in dropships, Fallon's heart raced. This was the culmination of everything they had fought for. If they succeeded, they would shatter the Coalition's ability to wage war. If they failed, humanity might never get another chance. The dropships landed in the heart of the command complex, and Fallon's team moved with deadly precision. Coalition forces, still reeling from the chaos above, were caught off guard. The humans swept through the complex, neutralizing resistance with brutal efficiency.